Hello, I'm Jeffrey Peterson, AFA MEC President at Alaska Airlines. Today is Friday, September the 7th, 2012. We just finished up 3 days of negotiations yesterday at the Alaska Airlines Flight Training Center in Seattle. Those days involved some very long days, up to 14 hours on caucus, as we worked on several different sections this time. And if you see any of our negotiators out there on the line, that would be Brian Tracy or Karina Cameron Fetters or Jake Jones, please tell them they're doing a fantastic job as we are improving our contract, and we thank them very much for their very hard work through some of these very long days. Also this session we were joined by several members of the MEC, which were here to observe the process as well as offer some of their advice as we craft our proposals, and just in general to show their solidarity for the negotiating committee. So thank you so much to our LAC presidents for being there with us. This time we talked about Section 8, which is the hours of service section. We did reject management's proposal to shorten our debrief period at domicile from 30 minutes to 15 minutes, so we're keeping book in our counter proposal. And in that same counter proposal, we continue to seek longer rest on layovers as well as restrictions on night flying. Section 10 scheduling, I'd like to clear up some misconceptions about management's proposal from last time. As you recall, they proposed a 78 TFP flying requirement, or minimum flying. What that means is that if you were given a line built to 90 TFP, you could down trade with open time down to 78 TFP. But if you had traded away 20 of that TFP to another flight attendant, you could trade all the way down to 58 TFP. And in fact, if you were giving away all of your trips to another flight attendant, that was okay under their proposal. That being said, we understand it is not popular with the flight attendants, and we did not include that in our counter proposal. Our counter proposal had back to book on the line averages, which is 78 to 85 TFP in the domicile, with an individual line being able to be built between 10 below or 10 above the domicile line average. We also informed management that we would be keeping our current PBS vendor Navtech. I'd like to walk you through some of our thinking that went into that decision. Navtech is making some improvements to their algorithm, including unstacking. Now that they have these single day stacks, we've seen far less bid protests in the last month or so, and we're going to continue to monitor that as they make slow improvements to the program. We did ask for the unstacking reports to be published, which is the same, it's now called coverage reports. But there is a report that the PBS committee receives that shows all of the stacks and who got unstacked or covered on those particular days or times. And we think there is some value in flight attendants being able to access that information. Many of you probably may not find it that interesting, but for those of you that do, we think it is important to have that transparency, and we would like to have that information be publicly available. Some of the other things we're asking for is showing the last 5 days of the previous month. We are working with management even today to show that information in the baseline awards or some other report that has that same information, so that you can tell when you're researching your line awards compared to others what their carry-in is to see if they're legal, say on the first, second of the month. We think that will be very helpful. The last piece is we asked the management to review the desktop version of Navtech. There is an upgrade, if you will, that is has like a Windows-based version of the interface that we have now that gives you a little bit more feedback into what you might hold. It doesn't look at other people's bids, but it will tell you, say, if you put in a request for night flying or didn't avoid night trips, it can show you that you could get night trips, and you could then realize, wait, I probably messed up my bid, and I can go back and revise it before it goes and runs for the real thing, and you end up with all-nighters that you did not want. So we will be looking at that in the near future. We, in our proposal, we did ask for a low bid requirement, which is that 1 to 3% of each domicile, or number of flight attendants in the domicile, will be offered a low bid. That would be 40 TFP. We did ask for a cap on the pickup above that, so you could go all the way up to 50 TFP on the low bid option. But we did ask for a smaller number than the company's proposal of 7%. The reason being that this is a discussion the committee had with the MEC quite a while ago, thinking that more than 3% will cause the people who are not flying low bid to fly that much more, and we thought that was a nice balance between offering low bid for those that are interested, not making everyone else fly that much more. So that's why our proposal included the 1 to 3%. We also made several improvements to language, such as grouping all the scheduling changes under reassignment, so that you can know exactly what a reassignment is versus the language today is all over the map. There's same-day scheduling changes, reassignments, move-ups. We just wanted to make it very clean and have it all be reassignment, and then we carved out if there was reassignment at domicile versus reassignment elsewhere. And then we also were looking to define like sequence. There are several different applications of like sequence for the contract currently, and we want like sequence to be defined as a single sequence that is within 1 hour of the check-in and release times of the original sequence and must be within less than a 3-leg difference more. So that's like sequence, and we want to make that consistent through all the contract, including pre-cancellation, scheduling changes, what have you. Section 10, exchanges of sequences. We're looking to reduce the trading window from 4 hours to 3 hours. We also are looking at allowing jetway trades at domicile. And what we mean by a jetway trade is that you can trade your sequences to another flight attendant or between flight attendants close in to departure. And what we were conceiving of is before boarding begins. So we think that if both flight attendants are present, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to sip our trips or to trade our trips with each other right close in as long as both flight attendants are there. We're also looking to shorten the time after the reserves block in to pick up a trip. Right now, a reserve has to wait until at least 9 a.m. after the day after their reserve block ends, and that's per the CFRs, along with our contractual language. What we were proposing is, as long as a reserve comes in, checks their line, or checks their email, and there's no additional trip, that they can immediately then pick up a trip within the FAR requirements after that. So you could potentially pick up a trip in the next morning rather than later in the day or 9 a.m. or after. So I think there is some value there. We did propose some significant changes to open time that we think will help solve some of the company's issues, as well as preserving our flexibility and, in fact, increasing our flexibility. We proposed that open time open with 1 duty period per calendar day in trips for every 200 flight attendants in each domicile. So what that means is, say for Seattle, I'm going to round, if there's 1,800 flight attendants, that they would require that there is 9 duty periods per day, every day, of trips in open time. So there could be 9 turns on a given day, it could be 9 different 4 days that start in a given day, but each day has to have at least 9 duty periods of activity all the way across the month. That is a lot more TFP than is in today's language, which is 25% of the number of flight attendants in each domicile in TFP. However, we think that this will help the company out in knowing what their staffing reliability needs to be across the month, because what we're saying is all days are open unless they're closed when the day has only has 18 duty periods per calendar day for Seattle, for instance. So it's 1 per 100 flight attendants. And again, it would be double of whatever we started out with. So if a given domicile had 5 duty periods to start in open time, once it reaches 10 duty periods, then it would close per day. Again, that's a lot more TFP in there than we have now, but what it does is it spreads it across the month. Management would be happy in knowing exactly how many reserves need to be allocated to the open time coverage. And then the flip side of that is that we would have a lot more days open across the entire month rather than having a concentration of the 12 days open for 24 hours that are all checkerboarded and then closed from that time forward. So it is a big change. We're not sure if management's going to go for it, but they are looking at it. And we will continue to work with them to find a solution that works for both management and improve our flexibility. We all know that the open time situation is untenable, and we need to see some relief there. If you have any more questions about that particular piece, I know it's kind of complicated to explain in a video, but there is more information on our video, or not our video update, but our written update on the Alaska MEC website. The last piece that we're proposing is a 24-hour hold on flight attendant trades with open time. So what that means is, if I pick up a trip from another flight attendant, I then cannot trade that with open time for 24 hours. You can trade all of your trips with open time that are on your original line immediately, but if you pick up something from someone else, we're looking to have them hold on to it for 24 hours, and then you can trade it away. We think that it's important to have that hold because there has been some instances of flight attendants churning trips through open time from other flight attendants, and that does cause a problem for the company, and that unfairly, I think, targets other flight attendants for closing open time because there's too much TFP going in from only a few people doing this. And again, this is all contractually legal today. I don't want to say that the flight attendants that have been doing this have been doing anything wrong, but we just want to make sure that what we come out with for a new open time scenario will work for all flight attendants, and that we all have better access to that calendar. That being said, we're going to continue to talk about the changes in open time with management, and we will see where we end up on that. Next session for negotiations is October 2nd to 4th, in just about a month or so. The things that you can do in the meantime is to make sure that you're wearing your AFA pin to show your solidarity for the negotiating committee. And we do have those new 4 bases, 1 voice, these bracelets here that you can get from any of your voice committee members as well as any of your AFA leadership. And if you have any more questions about where we are in negotiations, you can always talk to your voice committee members. Please keep those comment cards coming in. And check out the Alaska Airlines Negotiations Facebook page for those of you on Facebook. And of course, you can always find us anytime on the web at www.alaskamec.org.